Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're located. This is Dorothy Dalton from 3+ International. Now, some of you may know that I've been looking into unconscious bias in the hiring process for a number of years, specifically gender bias. And I've shared with you that the whole process is riddled with it. But you would think, wouldn't you, when it came to interviews, that men and women would be treated the same. Well, sadly, this is not the case either. And what's interesting is that now AI is more involved in the interview itself. What we have is data we can reference rather than just trusting our gut instincts, which are not always reliable. So I'm going to share with you some research from a couple of organizations which are going to highlight some of my areas of concern. So I need to read this to you. I'll put on my glasses. So the first is research from Bright Hire, and they suggest that when men interview women, they chatter more, speak faster, and listen less than when they're talking to another man. When men are interviewing male candidates, they speak 30% more words, and the interview runs on longer by 15%. When male interviewers are interviewing women, they dominate the discussion by 60%. Now, that is a lot. So let's move on to research from a company called ScreenLoop. And they tell us that when men interview women, the dialogue drops by 8% and their talk ratio goes up by 9%. And that's when they obviously continue to dominate the conversation. They also tell us that 17% more female candidates go through an additional stage of interviews compared to their male peers for the same roles. So what does that mean? That women are not given the same opportunities to present their best selves. And when they do, they have to go through an additional stage to prove their worth even more. Here's a point from research from the universities of California and Southern California. Male interviewers interrupt women 20% more than they interrupt men. Now, women quite often ask me, how can I deal with this? Because they're very aware that it's going on. And this is the tip that I give them. The most important thing is to hold your space. You continue with making eye contact, sitting up straight in your chair. You may want to raise your hands. I'm raising them higher for the camera, but just maybe palms outward, just above lap level, to indicate, that you're protecting your space. And you can say, I've got an important point to make. I'd like to finish, then we can move on. Or you may feel it's important or appropriate to ask permission and say, may I just finish this point and then we'll move on. If you find that the male interviewer insists on cutting you off and pursuing his line of questioning, that might be a red flag that this is not the organization that you want to join. So 2 things here. If you need help with interview preparation, please get in touch. And the other thing is, for organizations, this is indeed a message that you need to really teach your interviewers and your hiring managers how to manage bias in the interview process. So please, whoever you are, whatever your interest is, get in touch with 3+ International, www.3plusinternational.com. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.